Hello guys, welcome back. And today I'm going to be ranking my top 5 most riskiest picks in the 2019 NHL Draft. The 2019 NHL Draft is filled with talent from top to bottom, but which prospects are boom and bust, and which prospects are the riskiest picks in the draft? Watch till the end to find out. Now, with every single NHL prospect, there's obviously risk involved. But when it comes to the 2019 NHL Draft, there's a lot of prospects that are either going to boom or they're going to bust. And the top 5 prospects in this video encapsulate that. We're going to jump straight into it, and at number 5, I have Thomas Harley. He's a defenseman, age 17, 6'3", 192 pounds, Canadian-born prospect, and in the OHL, the Mississauga Steelheads had a pretty solid season, but there are some holes in his game. In the OHL with Mississauga, he ended up playing 68 games, getting 11 goals, 47 assists for 58 points. In the U18 World Juniors with Team Canada, he ended up playing 7 games, getting 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points on the tournament. When it comes to Thomas Harley, in my final NHL prospect rankings, I have him at number 23. I think Bob McKenzie has him at number 22, so he's around that low or I guess high 20s range, which is respectable when it comes to Thomas Harley. He has some amazing offense potential, but the all-around game just is not there right now. A big thing to note is that Thomas Harley doesn't turn 18 until after the draft, so he's a pretty young player, and he was 17 years old throughout the whole OHL season. And being able to get 58 points, to play that well as a defenseman in the OHL, while Mississauga is a good team, he definitely had a great season. I love the offensive potential that he has. The IQ is there for sure. He's got a solid just a shot and some good offensive instincts. When it comes to Thomas Harley, though, there is some questions about his defense, physicality, and his actual attitude. When it comes to Thomas Harley, sometimes there is some complaints that he does take shifts off, which sometimes happens with him. The defense is not the greatest either, and the physicality is basically non-existent. And of course, when it comes to points in the OHL, it's not the be-all, end-all when it comes to especially defensemen in their draft year, but being 17 and being that young shows how good Thomas Harley was. Now, there's still a big question if he can actually round out his all-around game. Again, the defense is not really there, the physicality, he doesn't really use it too much, so if he wants to become an NHL defenseman, he'll likely have to round that out a lot more, but Thomas Harley has a lot of offensive potential, and again, I think he could be a top 2 defenseman in the NHL if everything pans out right. Moving on to 4th, and at 4, I have Harper Kalia. He's a left winger at age 17, 6'2", 190 pounds. He's an American-born prospect in the OHL, and he was absolutely tearing it up with the Hamilton Bulldogs, scoring a ton of points throughout the whole season. Now, Harper Kalia with the Hamilton Bulldogs ended up playing 67 games, getting 51 goals, 51 assists for 102 points. Amazing numbers. Absolutely fantastic numbers for an age 17-year-old, especially in the OHL. When it comes to Harper Kalia, he was just an absolute point machine on Hamilton, had some amazing chemistry with some of his teammates like Matthew Strome, and he was just an absolute beast. Again, he was consistent. Throughout the whole season, he was scoring points left and right, but of course, the points are there, but the overall game might not be. Now, to be fair, I like Harper Kalia quite a bit. When it comes to his overall game, it might not be there, but the points are definitely there. Now, when it comes to my official ranking, I have him at number 11 in my final rankings of the 2019 NHL Draft. I'm a pretty big fan of him. Not enough to put him in the top 10, but I think he's a lot better than some people are giving him credit for. But that's just the thing. When it comes to Kalia, he was a point monster. It was just about points, and he was actually playing like he got those points. He would be a top 5 player. 102 points in the OHL is absolutely insane, but when it comes to his overall game, that is where the real issues lie. When it comes to Harper Kalia, the offensive instincts are definitely there. He has an amazing shot. Probably, I would say, the best shot in the draft. The offensive potential is there as well. And it would be a problem of, let's say, he had bad skating. But he really doesn't. He has decent, solid skating. Nothing special, but it's good enough to get him to the NHL level and get him producing. And that's just the thing. If the skating was a main issue, I would have a main issue with Harper Kalia, but it's just not really an issue with him. The issues are work ethic. When it comes down to it, sometimes a lack of effort level, but that can be ironed out. If that's your biggest weakness, that's something that is pretty good on your end. And let's say he just goes to the Montreal Canadiens or some team, that's something on the NHL team to iron out. When it comes to Harper Kalia, he can go anywhere in this draft. I could see him going from number 10 all the way down to number 25. He really is a huge wild card in this draft, and he is a risk. I will say that right now. He's in the top 5, so I think he is still. If he can't get that overall game really gelled well, if he can get a little bit better physicality-wise, I think he'll definitely develop into a very solid NHL player and be worth a top 15 pick. But if he can't develop his overall skills, if he can't become a more complete winger, or at least try to be, I'm not sure if he'll do too too well in the NHL, at least long term. And that's the problem, because he has offensive skills, and if he rounds out the overall game while improving the offense, watch out, because he can be scary, scary good. Moving on to number 3, and at number 3, I have Phillip Broberg. He's a defenseman at age 17, 6'3", 203 pounds, Swedish-born defenseman as well. He played in the Allsvenskan this season, getting 41 games played, 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. In the U18 World Juniors with Team Sweden, he played 7 games, getting 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. Now, Phillip Broberg, to me, is one of the most interesting prospects in this entire NHL draft, because you see people like Craig Button having him at number 7, but for me personally, I'm not very high on him. I have him at number 28 in my official personal rankings, and that's just because of all-around talents. There is some big boom and bust potential with Phillip Broberg. He has potential, I would say, to maybe be a first defenseman on a team. He can be that good, but there's also a pretty decent chance that he does end up busting completely. Now, Phillip Broberg, his skills and his strengths are obvious. The skating is one of the best in the draft, especially when it comes to defensemen that we've seen in a long, long time. He has some decent puck skills as well, and the offensive potential, you can see it, especially in the World Juniors. But when it comes to just the overall player there, I'm just not a fan of it whatsoever. When it comes to some of the skills that he has, there is raw potential there, but I don't think we've really seen it witnessed, at least completely. The skating is definitely fantastic, but the rest of his game, I am just not a fan of whatsoever. Now, when it comes to Broberg, if he can fill out a little bit of his puck skills, get a little bit of a better shot in passing, and of course round out the defense, which I think does need work, and use his size a lot more to his advantage, I can see Phillip Broberg being a very solid defenseman in the NHL someday. But that's just the thing. He has a lot of little stuff to work on, a lot of stuff that might not be completely filled, and while he might be a decent defenseman, again, I think he's the definition, or at least one of the definitions, of a boom or bust prospect. Moving on to my second most riskiest pick in the 2019 NHL draft, I got Antoni Honka. He's a defenseman at age 18, 5'10", 176 pounds, Finnish-born prospect, and when it comes to his time in the Liga, he had a pretty solid campaign, again, but there are some holes there, but some good potential as well. In the Liga, he played with 2 different teams, but combining them, he ended up playing 27 games, getting 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points. In the playoffs, he played 17 games, getting 3 goals, 8 assists for a solid 11 points. In the U20 World Juniors with Team Finland, he ended up playing 6 games, getting 0 points on the team that eventually won gold. So again, some of the points are not maybe as much as you'd want to see from a prospect that's pretty old compared to some of the prospects in this draft. But when it comes to Antoni Honka, he's also a super fascinating prospect in this draft because, again, he has that boom or bust potential to become either amazing or absolutely crap. Now, what you get with Antoni Honka is raw potential, and you get that in spades with him. He has so much to offer when it comes to offensive potential, and it's kind of crazy. But then again, he has a lot of very, very glaring holes that might never be fixed, and that is a huge problem. When it comes to some of the offensive skills, he's got fantastic puck skills, has a solid shot, and again, the offensive instincts are there. Sometimes the IQ can be very inconsistent, though, and that's something that we see with Antoni Honka. Sometimes he'd be amazing, sometimes he'll be one of the dumbest players on the ice. He can really be a coach's problem on the ice, and again, that is a problem if he wants to get into the NHL level and be trusted by NHL coaches. When it comes to the defensive side of things, it doesn't get too much better whatsoever. When it comes to defense, sometimes he is pretty okay, but other times he makes glaring, terrible mistakes that are honestly sometimes cringeworthy. There was a moment back in the Mistis final, I'm pretty sure, where he ended up costing his team a goal. I think he ended up costing his team a game because of a massive turnover in the neutral zone. Sometimes he just makes terrible decisions. Physicality-wise, he doesn't really bring too much either. He's 5'10", and he doesn't really use his size to his advantage too much. When it comes to Antoni Honka, again, though, the skill is there. Offensively, I think he can become one of the better defensemen in this draft. The raw potential is there, but the player right now definitely needs some fixing. Now, going to number 1, in my opinion, the most riskiest pick in the 2019 NHL draft, I have Vasili Podkolzin. He's a right winger at age 17, 6'1", 190 pounds, Russian-born prospect, and he's been across pretty much every single league and tournament you could think of. Going on to Vasili Podkolzin's stats, the most games that he played in the league was the VHL this season, and he played 14 games, getting 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points. In the U20 World Juniors with Team Russia, he ended up playing 7 games, getting 3 assists. In the U18 World Juniors, he ended up playing 7 games, getting 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points. And when it comes to Vasili Podkolzin, there might not be a more polarizing prospect in this NHL draft. I've seen him as high as going maybe number 5 or number 6, and I've seen him going down until maybe the mid-first round. He really is that much of a controversial prospect, and rightfully so, because he really is all over the place. My personal rankings, I have Vasili Podkolzin at number 14. I think he's a pretty talented prospect. I don't think he should be a top 10 prospect, but I don't think he should be slipping outside the top 20. I have him about at the middle there. When it comes to Vasili Podkolzin, I think the potential is certainly there for him to become a first-line winger in the NHL. The offense potential is certainly there, and if he does fulfill that, he'll likely be a very dangerous threat and one of the better threats of scoring in the entire NHL. When it comes to Vasili Podkolzin, one of the main concerns that people have is his KHL contract. I think he has 2 years left with SK in his KHL contract, or at least his first one, which does affect things. For a team that wants to have a more NHL-ready prospect, Vasili Podkolzin is certainly not that whatsoever. He'll likely be ready in probably 3 or 4 years. I see that where he needs to develop at that point. So I don't think the KHL contract is really going to be stopping him from making the NHL anytime soon. But when it comes to Vasili Podkolzin, really, he does have the potential to be a guy that really does take the league by storm. Now, the overall play is not really something to worry about with Podkolzin because he's fine in defense, he's fine physically. I think he's good as well when it comes to using his body to his advantage, especially offensively, but offensively, he does have that talent, and again, that's what we should be looking for. That's what makes it so hard to rank Vasili Podkolzin in prospect rankings. If you have him in his top 5 or your top 10 in your prospect rankings, I'm not really going to debate you too much because he has the potential and he has the skills to be that good. He really does. And a lot of people have him in their top 3 for a large chunk of the season, really up until the U18. So he has that potential to be that good, but actually doing that, again, is a big wild card. For me personally, I think he likely will be that kind of guy once he gets out of that whole KHL thing. I think he will develop quite well, but he develops that skill and develops the all-around game as well. He could be fantastic, but again, that is a big concern. But of course, with this video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So, let me know what you think about my top 5 riskiest players in the 2019 NHL Draft. Do you agree with it? What do you disagree with as well? And of course, the question up to you, who is the riskiest picks in the 2018 NHL Draft? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my top 5 most NHL-ready prospects in the 2019 NHL Draft. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my top 5 riskiest picks in the 2019 NHL Draft. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And I'll see you guys next video or stream. Goodbye.